It's 4 p.m. I will call this meeting to order. This is a public hearing, and we're the Putnam County Planning Commission. We're the designated local planning agency for the county as prescribed in Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes. We function under the authority of Articles 11 and 12 of the Putnam County Land Development Code. The primary responsibility of the commission is to serve as an advisory body to hear and make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners on matters related to and provisions of proposed amendments to the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan and the Putnam County Land Development Code. The members of this board will review each application and make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners at their next regularly scheduled meeting on October 28th, 2025. Procedurally, we will call each case by name and number. A member of staff will then briefly explain to us the nature of each request. We will then take any comments from the applicant or their representative, followed by any public comments concerning the request. Please direct all comments or statements to the board and not to other members in the audience. The motion will be voted on by the board members and become our recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners will make the final determination regarding the application. Applicants have the right to withdraw their request at any time during the application process. No cases were withdrawn. The first case we're going to hear is REZ 25-000011. However, before we do that, I need to ask, has there anyone had any ex parte communication concerning either of these cases?
No.
Does anyone have a conflict of interest with either of these cases? No. Okay. If you would just make that a part of the record, Ashley. Are we going to hear 11? We're going to hear 10 first, aren't we, or 11?
Whichever the chair wishes.
Let's do 10 first. Let's do 10 first.
Very well. For the record, Michael Graves, Planning and Development Service. This is REZ 25-000010. The applicant is Kevin Fisher, requesting a zoning map amendment from Commercial Retail C2, Residential to R2, and Plan Unit Development PUD to Commercial General. Wait, I got the wrong one. Sorry. That's the number. There we go. Let's try that again. Requesting a zoning map amendment from Commercial to C2, Residential 2, and Commercial 4, C4, to Commercial to standardize for the purpose of establishing a the slide is wrong again. For the purpose of establishing consistent commercial zoning across its properties for resale and or use as a general contractor studio. There does not appear to be any wetlands or flood zone on this property. Should the applicant's request be approved, the applicant would then be subject to review by Development Review Committee for any future developments that are consistent with the C2 zoning district, as well as Please bear with me. We seem to be having some technical difficulties with the presentation. Okay, so that's number 11. There we are. Okay, so this is the right one. Forgive me, the display kept displaying number 11 for some reason. There we go. Here we are. Should the applicant's request be approved, they will be reviewed by the Development Review Committee before obtaining any permits that are compatible with the C2 zoning district. Staff have also recommended the combination of these properties and the performance of a de facto lot split to factor off the portion of land across State Road 17 there that contain Old Cherry Lane. Sorry, 207. Here you can see an aerial of the property. We are using a new software that at the time did not allow for the highlighting of the properties. It is the large one you see on the right-hand side, as well as the three to the south of it, and their associated portions to the west of 207 there. Here you can see the future land use for the area is commercial. The zoning, you can see the properties more easily here, the C2, the C4, and the R2 on the very bottom there. Staff recommends approval of the request to amend the zoning map from commercial retail C2, commercial intensive C4, and residential 2 to commercial 2. Staff finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the adopted comprehensive plan and meets the locational requirements of the commercial retail zoning district provided in the Land Development Code and Comprehensive Plan. Are there any questions?
It's only the property on the east side of 207, correct? Or is there?
So it is the totality of the property, as he owns a small portion of property on the west side of 207. That is
the highlighted, is that the highlighted pieces on that first map?
on the first map. No, sir.
I-
That would be
You guys
a
normally outline the parcel that we're talking about, but I don't see it.
right. Our software at the time did not allow us to outline the properties. Unfortunately, we were updating to the Arc Pro GIS.
So on that map
the-
right there, which,
The highlighted properties you see there are part of a conservation easement, actually.
okay,
The subject portions are the ones that run parallel across the road from the ones on the
so
on
the
the
three
east side.
little trapezoidal shaped pieces that are immediately across the road from the three long
Correct.
skinny lots there?
As you can see, they contain Old Cherry Lane, which is going to preclude any further development from occurring on them.
And do they have separate parcel number? Are they separate parcels or are they considered?
They are part of
Single
the
parcel.
parcels on the west side, east side. Sorry,
Okay.
is why we recommended the de facto lot split in order to separate them out into their own parcels, so that they would not, factor into any future developments.
Are those parcels of size to do anything with and?
No, sir. They are completely consumed by Old Cherry Lane. They would essentially just become extensions of whatever parcels are adjacent to them if they were ever sold to the parcels adjacent to them.
Okay, that makes more sense. That's. Okay. Yeah, I see what they got there.
I noticed there were some buildings on some of the sites. Are those going to remain? Are they going to be removed? Some of them looked residential.
To staff's knowledge, the parcels that are owned by the applicant that are getting rezoned are supposed to be mostly vacant. The buildings that there would, in theory, be older buildings that are unlikely to be in working condition, in which case they would most likely be demolished for making room for new buildings. The ones on the west side, it could be that you have seen the properties behind them, which
Mhm.
do have homes, which those will remain untouched as they are not part of this development.
Okay. Any
Those,
other questions of staff?
Well, so in rezoning that you're talking about, in effect, making new parcels over there, those parcels, the property appraiser would assign them new parcel numbers, and they would have a zoning and future land use consistent with what's on that side of the road now? Is that correct?
They would have,
The way that I'm reading the application is that they're asking to do the whole thing.
correct. They would retain their currently existing future land use, which is commercial. Those small portions of land that contain Old Cherry Lane, they would be commercial too as well. However, there is no way to develop those properties due to the insufficient size. The setbacks alone would preclude any form of development from occurring there.
Right.
Is Old Cherry Lane being used as a road?
I cannot speak to that, unfortunately, as it is a private road. If it
Okay.
is, it would be for the residential use only.
Okay.
I believe it is, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Michael, could you pull up the current zoning map and kind of expand it to where I can see more to the north?
Unfortunately, this doesn't allow us to expand. Again, we were working with a new piece of technology. The next set of maps that we have will allow us to have a more zoomed out version. Unfortunately, the Arc Pro GIS that the GIS department wanted us to use did not quite function the way we wanted, so forgive us that. Directly to the north of this, however, is the the First Coast Metal Roofing business. And just beyond that is a commercial for development. I forget the name of it. And to the east of it is the old truss plant, which is a now defunct planned unit development.
Madam Chair, we saw the next door neighbor
Okay,
8 months ago. We turned them down.
okay. I remembered this property came up.
We turned them down. They were gonna manufacture, or
You're
they were
talking
gonna
about,
make a lot of noise or something. I forget why we turned them
The
down.
metal,
oh, you're talking about the metal shop. that-
Yeah.
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 First
Yeah,
Coast
they're-
Metal
Yeah,
Roofing.
so that's my, I think that I don't think the zoning is so much of an issue on that side of the road. My concern is bringing that commercial zoning and future land use to the residential side of the street there where there are houses. Like that's,
Madam Chair, may I speak to the slivers of land on the
Certainly.
west side?
please do, Zach.
So when we get an application for a zoning map amendment, we go based off of the legal description that is provided to us by the applicant. So they have essentially two options. They can provide us with the deed, which would be the legal description for the entire parcel, or a survey with the legal description for only the portion that they want to change. Of course, nobody wants to spend more money than they have to, so we were going based off of the legal descriptions on the deed. So the lands across the street more than likely will not be able to be, excuse me, developed in any capacity because they're so small. They're less than, 0.5 of an acre, 0.05. So no use would be able to fit on that land, residential or commercial. So it will create some bit of an abnormality with the zoning that's over there, but no use could occur. More than likely, if the residential uses beyond it wanted to buy those pieces of land, they could work out some sort of a deal with the property owner. And it would actually be a benefit to the county and to those owners because then they would have frontage, piecemealed, if you will, but frontage on 207 rather than Old Cherry Lane, which is a private road. I don't even know that it's an easement. I think it's a prescriptive right-of-way. I don't think there's any legal easement for Old Cherry Lane. Nonetheless, that's why we see the entire parcel being rezoned, but I don't foresee any commercial or even residential use on those small pieces.
Is there a reason we keep flipping in and out? Our screens go black. They're up right now, but they've been going in and out.
I cannot speak to that. That appears to be another technical issue. We seem to
Okay.
be having several of those today.
That's okay. It's, it's not raining today, so it's got to have something wrong.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate on that. If, let's say somebody that owned the parcel, say to the west of those three pieces, purchased those three pieces, and then maybe owned two pieces to the west, and then did a lot combination where now they have the ability to develop, and they have a multi-zone piece of property there. Do you not see that as an avenue to have that commercial use move to that side of the road?
Possibly if they obtain the necessary acreage for that use. But if you'll look at your future land use map series in your packet, everything over there is commercial. And it wasn't long ago that we actually heard an application to go from commercial to residential for a Rebuild Florida project. So we already have kind of a non-conforming zoning future land use combo on the west side anyhow. And of course, the county doesn't want to go after these map amendments and change them for the fear of, changing someone's zoning without them being on board with it. So we kind of just tend to address those items that are in front of us and then wait until
I think that was part of the conversation when the metal shop came up here, was how that got rezoned, the future land use got put into the place, and how it was kind of probably just a blanket kind of thing because that corridor there is busy and expected to be commercial. But the trend as of right now from the last one we had to where they've moving it from commercial to residential, like shows that the natural progression of that is keeping the residential on that west side of the road. So I don't know that the future land use that's designated there, it seems to be inconsistent with how the current use is headed. So
I agree with you. Everything, for the most part, on the west side is residential.
Correct.
Or is a low-intensity commercial with appropriate designations.
Or is
And then-
vacant.
Yeah, and then on the east side, we've got more commercial uses, very sporadic residential uses.
I think if you went back, and you're probably not gonna find anything where that was done as a change to commercial going through the proper process. I think you'll find that in one of the iterations of the comprehensive plan, that was done because, like Mr. Morris said, that's a commercial corridor. And to give that a land use that would be conducive to commercial development, everything out there was probably done. I doubt that anything was even looked at Cherry Lane. Because I remember that being done last time we did the comp plan and the time before when we did the comp plan. There were parcels of land that were in areas where there's going to be water and sewer, where it's planned in the future, that we want to designate as commercial to draw people in so they don't have to go through the process of changing it. So I bet you're gonna find that if you had time to go back and look at that.
Yes,
But I
ma'am.
don't think that's something that's a good use of time right now.
I know the last time I kind of dug into this, it was around 2010 when we did our evaluation and appraisal report that the county initiated a lot of map amendments. And I think since then, we've kind of just stayed away from it and kind of gone to the mentality of let's deal with what we have in front of us. And
There was a good bit of land use changes with the last comp plan in the East Palatka area because of the infrastructure that's in place there. So, but I think that is probably why this was done that way. And that's why somebody comes up and wants to rebuild a house, we work on it with them.
Yeah,
But-
what would be the avenue, if they were going to separate those two? Is that something that, obviously the property appraiser has to get involved to split that into something, but is that something you got, your department would approve, although the sizes don't meet?
so we actually wrote this
Usability.
in, we wrote this into our LDC within the last round of legislative changes that we did, where we created the de facto lot split process. And different municipalities look at this anomaly differently. In Putnam, we say you can only have one primary use per parcel when it comes to residential, and that's typically when we run into this. So what we said was if the property is of sufficient size to meet the dimensional requirements of the zoning district, then they can do a de facto. Essentially, they just get a legal description of what they want to break off. They record it on a deed, whether it's to convey it to somebody else or a quitclaim to themselves. That'll create the new parcel number, and then from there, it's that own piece of land. In this case, staff, and we'd have to look at GIS and get an estimate, but in this case, more than likely, staff would look at it and say, it's 2,000 square feet, it's not big enough to conform to the zoning district.
Even
or
if
any
all three were
use.
combined?
If all three were combined, I mean, we'd have to address it then and figure out how big it was. If it was big enough to support a use, then potentially, yeah, they could just de facto it and split it off. Alternatively, if one of those residential uses beyond it wanted to acquire it, then we would just put them through an exempt subdivision. That's where they provide, a survey and show the boundary line moving, and it's legal that way as well.
There's also a unspoken elephant on this. The middle portion on the west side is not actually part of this, as only the north and south ones are, considered contiguous of the opposite end. That middle one has already been de factoed off at some time in the past by a different property owner.
So the middle one on the west is its own parcel now, you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. Is that why there is what seems to be a small parcel line on the east one that corresponds to that?
Yeah.
No, sir. That appears to be a mixed zoning that happened on the east side sometime in the past as well.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, I don't have any concern with the C2 rezoning on the east side of 207. But for the C2 to jump across 207, go to the west side, and now include just 2 of the lots, not 3, if I heard Michael correctly, I have concern with that, especially after hearing what Zach said about the applicant submitted a deed that included that entire parcel. So both pieces of it. Had he done a boundary survey and only included items on the east side of 207, we would not be jumping over 207. And I think it might be cleaner for us to pause and let the applicant consider giving us a boundary survey to only include the parcel on the east side of 207, so we keep it nice and clean going forward, and maybe just consider tabling this thing for the meantime and let the applicant consider that.
Okay, are you want to put that in the form of a motion?
Public comment.
Well, we would need public.
We'll get to that, but
Yes, I would be happy to.
We need public comment
we'll need public comment.
for the motion.
Are you the applicant or owner? Okay, you own property near there? Okay. Would you come up to the microphone so we can all hear you and get you on record? And give us your name and address, please, darling.
Hello, Margaret Arango. Good afternoon.
Your
2015
address?
2015 St. John's Avenue, but that address over there is right beside the trust. I believe it's 156 State Road 207. So I find this curious because there always has been a desire for the applicant to commandeer these lots without considering future usage, and now here we are. So my question is, what is the comprehensive plan for that corridor? Because literally, residential, commercial light, commercial intensive. So it just seems like a big hodgepodge of things. And I'm wondering if a developer, someone should come into the community with a lot halfway across the street, another part here,
Yep.
part high.
And that occurred probably because of the road going through after the land was
Exactly.
there. But I think the commercial zoning that's already there probably happened as something that was administratively done. But you're concerned about,
Well, just what's the overall usage for the future? Like, as in my grandmother just passed, God bless her soul, she's 95, and she wants me to use the old lot as sort of like a garden. She used to feed people in the community, and she dug the whole thing up, and that's great. But my only concern when they sent the form letter, curiously, less than 30 days, I was lucky to be here today, it just looked as if a lot was going on. It just looked too busy, because wouldn't the ultimate goal be to attract people to a commercial district who can actually use the land? Even in
Right.
the case of the lot that she willed to me, I'm here, if you're facing the trust place, the lot on
Yeah.
the left. But half of it, or a slither, is way over there across the street on someone else's yard. So it's always been an interesting position, just that corridor.
yeah, I think the idea of getting a boundary survey is a good idea. And I think also, I would encourage the owner to negotiate purchasing that land if he doesn't already own it. That's that sliver of land on the left side, on the right side of 207, that little tiny triangle, to make everything contiguous that the owner actually has in his power.
And then some of them might have already been split by the previous owner, because a lot of those people have transitioned on. So prior to their transitioning, their lots were acquired just for the sake of being acquired, without checking to see if they truly, in fact, held this piece or a combo platter. So I don't know. So I was just
It is curious, and we appreciate your asking that question. Curiosity is a good thing.
yeah, in moderation, I guess.
Okay?
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you
Stick
for your
around,
time.
and we'll see what we do.
All right.
I think the answer to her question is 207 wasn't always as big as it is
That's
now.
right, 207 grew up.
No, that was, 207's grown over the years, and that's created these kind of jumbled up little chopped off pieces and all.
So,
But I understand, that's just one of those areas where we've got mixed uses there. It's
Yeah.
been traditionally used for commercial stuff, but also residential stuff, so that's just one of the areas in our county where that all kind of comes back together.
yep.
jump off of that, 207 used to not even be there. This property, the subdivision that these properties are a part of was created before 207,
Yeah.
and so that's why it kind of got carved the way it did.
Right. Well, 207 being widened too also took a lot out of these
Absolutely.
pieces. So, and that happened fairly recently. I remember it, so. I think there's some good points here. Would you like to speak, ma'am? No? She's with you? Did you bring a
She probably had a
blanket?
bunch about you she wants to say.
Okay. All right, not to worry. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? I need to ask that question. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing portion section of the meeting and bring it back to the board for discussion and potential motion.
Madam Chair, I have just one question.
Yes, sir.
And please forgive me if I'm a little confused on this. Are one of these parcels or part of the existing PUD that's there that is the trust plant?
No, that's for REZ 2511.
Okay, okay, thank you. I'm like,
We all seem to be having a bit of technical
well,
issue
there's,
with how
I
close
don't
these
see
are.
I was,
I think part of the problem is we're not visualizing it totally because we're seeing what we're seeing from ArcGIS. But I hope ArcGIS will play nice with you in the future.
We've received yet another new GIS map since then, and all future projects after today will have highlighted areas,
Good.
thankfully. We made sure to make that a point when we communicated with GIS staff.
So let's recap what is being requested here. The lands that are owned by this particular applicant are being rezoned to C3.
C2.
This is land use, I'm sorry. Land use is being changed to C2.
The zoning is going from C2, C4, and R2 on the big, large property on the west-hand side, the two under it, and the residential under that, as well as the associated portions on the west side. He's wanting to standardize all that to commercial 2 for the purpose of establishing either a trade office space for like plumbers and electricians and what have you, or for potential resale.
Okay.
Are our only two options to approve it as it's written or deny it, or do we have the ability to modify?
We can modify, can't we, Zach, Michael? We
So
haven't-
I was actually thinking about that. I think it would probably be more prudent to recommend denial as presented to you if.
Or table?
And I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but if you're concerned about those lands on the west side and perhaps have some feedback that you would rather see a boundary survey as Mr. Sheffield pointed out. I worry if we try to table it because it's already been scheduled with the BOCC and advertised, and without a withdrawal from the applicant, I don't want to necessarily get in front of the BOCC and say, staff, at the recommendation of the board, staff is pulling the application.
We're not pulling it, we're just tabling it and delaying it.
Yeah, I mean, we've tabled before.
Yes.
So that is a third possibility.
I feel uncomfortable denying something that's got some viability to it, just because part of it has a problem.
Well, I think they understand direction.
You don't,
yeah, if the applicant was here, maybe
know.
we could have more of a discussion, but
Right.
without it, we deny
Right.
it and we give our reason and then it
Okay.
continues down.
I think staff understands the direction
Yeah.
that it would take for us to be able to, obviously, we hadn't had a motion yet, but I feel.
And again, is our concern the future usage of the land that's not being zoned in accordance with everything that they want to do? Does that make sense?
Can you ask that
On
again?
the property on the west side?
Well, the majority that he's wanting rezoned is on the east side, and I think.
I understand, but I thought the discussion we had
it's on the
was
left.
we were concerned about,
Yeah.
Those pieces on the west,
Yes.
yeah. From what I'm hearing, it seems like there's not a whole lot of concern about the east side. It's the concern is on the west.
that's correct.
That's correct.
So I could see a recommendation to deny as presented because of those lands on the west, or I could see a recommendation to table until you get a boundary survey reflecting only the lands on the east. But what we can't do is say, recommend approval, but only for the east side,
No.
because that would technically be conditional rezoning, and we can't do that
Right,
by law, statute.
Right.
okay, thanks.
Madam Chair, what is it, the lots across the street are now what, R2? R1?
R2.
R2.
So is there any way we can cut them out?
That's what we're talking about.
We're talking about
That's what
doing
we're
that,
talking about.
Okay, so
but having,
we'll vote on the east side and cut
No,
out.
no, yeah, no, we can't do that.
we can't
have to-
make that decision here
Can't leave that as R1?
because they're contiguous right now.
Do,
But,
We need that boundary survey in order to leave out the west side from the
we'd need the
rezone on
boundary
the
survey,
east.
and we would need the applicant to say, this is what I would like to do, and then give us a proposal for that part of the land. So that's kind of where we are. And if we do that with this particular case, it definitely impacts the zoning, doesn't it?
If we do the boundary survey request,
Mhm.
for this case, all it will do is delay until he gets that boundary survey, as opposed to recommending denial and then going in front of the Board of County Commissioners, where if he got a denial there, he would have to wait a year to try again with a
Right.
identical rezone.
Right. That's the reason I don't want to go denial.
Right.
But if we table 10,
Mhm.
what impact does that have on 11?
It will have no impact, as they are separate applications.
Okay. Okay, it's not the same? Okay.
if we deny with the understanding that if it gets split up, it's more likely to be approved, will they have to pay for another application fee, or will that would just be considered this application that's just have a revision associated with it?
Well, I would probably kind of lean on my BOCC to let me know how they wanted to handle it, because we've had zoning designations in the past with a different board where they said, essentially, what you're trying to get is too intense, but we can't lower the intensity here, so it would probably be wise to withdraw and then reapply, right? They kind of gave them that, and then the applicant withdrew during that public hearing.
So
Yeah.
they have the ability to withdraw before the next the Board of County Commission meeting?
Yes, sir, they can withdraw any time until that decision is made.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And that would not, because they came here, would not cost them that 12 months, because if they withdrew between now and then, they don't have to worry about that clock, correct?
That's correct. The 12-month is only for denial, and it's a local policy that I'm sure the board could waiver from if they decided to do so.
Mhm. Okay.
Zach, do you know when this is scheduled to go before the board?
October 20 something.
So that means
28.
it will get back to us. If we table it and they're responsive, it could come back to us 2 weeks prior to
Right.
that board meeting.
It could, yes, sir.
That makes
Hence
good sense,
maybe the effort
too.
of
Yeah.
tabling it.
I don't
Yep.
know, I don't think that,
It would
think-
come back on October 8th, I believe, is the second
Mhm.
Wednesday of next month.
that would give you guys enough time to review it? So my concern is there's more than just us,
I know.
what's happening here.
It's got to be
because
done with them.
when we say we would like to see it split to where they have to do something with the lots across on the west side of the road, now staff has to be able to evaluate the path that goes. So like from staff's point of view, is there a difference between table and denial?
Well, I guess one way to answer that question is he's probably not going to be able to get it surveyed before
Right.
October 8th and the notification requirement that we have. But in terms of if you guys recommend denial or you request to table it and bring it back when all the resources are prepared, I think if you recommend denial, you're probably going to give the BOCC good justification to recommend the same. And then that does put the applicant at risk if he chooses to, ride it out until the very end.
Right. But
Especially if he's
direction
not at
from
the
staff
meeting.
can be to the applicant, hey, look, they denied it here, before it goes to the BOCC, we as staff recommend withdrawal, do X, Y, and Z in regards to splitting it up, and then resubmit, and as long as you guys relay that message to them, then it doesn't go to BOCC, and they're still open on the initial application, doesn't cost them any more money. And if that survey takes 2 months, then they're okay.
It's better than a
right?
year.
Instead of forcing that into the BOCC meeting.
Yes, sir, and in theory, if you guys recommend denial because of the lands on the west side of 207, and we advise the applicant that he can choose to pull his item from the BOCC agenda until he gets the survey, and then your recommendation would still be denial to the BOCC because of the west side lands, but then in the interim, he has remedied it
Gets his
by
stuff
getting
together,
this
yeah.
boundary survey for only the east.
Yep.
But his withdrawal would keep from going there, correct?
Well, he would just ask that we defer, and he's got that right as well. He can say, I don't want to go to October 28th. I want to go to the BOCC meeting after I get my survey.
And after you bring it back to us.
Nope.
We wouldn't have to bring it back
You
to
wouldn't
you
have to
because
bring
you
it
would
back
have
to
already
us.
made your recommendation to deny based on the lands on the west side.
We deny it, but it doesn't come back to us.
We would put it into the record of the staff report that you denied based off of the west side. So when he provides the boundary survey for the east side, the west side would no longer be a factor.
Not to
But
mention the
in-
notes
in-
that we're getting here,
In theory,
the minutes.
Yep.
in theory, we would want to see that you guys reviewed it, though, before the next step up. You know what I mean? We want to give you guys time to review it.
So strictly speaking, he's not separating the parcels at this stage. He's just saying that the properties on the east would be the only ones affected by the rezone. And as far as staff is concerned, that is essentially what we were here for today anyway. There would not be any significant review required,
Okay.
more than just making sure that the legal description matches the legal description of the east side properties.
And there would still be the de facto lot split.
Correct. At a future point, he could do a de facto lot split or even do an exempt subdivision with the neighbors on the west side to just claim those properties from him.
And then you guys would adequately translate to the BOCC that these were the only problems we had from planning commission, even though it shows up as a denial.
We would put it into the staff report so that they would have a written version of it, and I would also make comment at it at the BOCC meeting, as I do every meeting about your recommendation.
And I'll give you a little secret, most of them watch the tape of this meeting.
Hi, BOCC.
Yeah, a lot of them will sit down and watch the YouTube.
Yeah, I think as bad as a denial sounds, I think it's probably our best route to capture what our actual issue is and give them the opportunity to fix it
And I
while
think,
it still keeps moving forward.
and I think
so.
it gives them the best option down the road.
But it's a denial, though, with our recommendation on how to fix it.
Right.
And that will also be reflected in the report. Okay.
Right.
I think we're all on the same page.
Yep, I think we're with it.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion. I
Okay.
move that we recommend the Board of County Commissioners denial of the rezoning for REZ 25-000010, as it's not consistent with goals and objectives, policies of Putnam County Comprehensive Plan, with the caveat that we just spoke about of exempting the west side of 207 related parcels until staff's had a chance to sort that out with the
Yeah.
applicant.
Staff's had a chance to sort it
I
out.
have a second, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. This was unanimously approved by the Planning Commission, and the Board of County Commissioners gets to play with it next. But I do think that the applicant, I wish they were here, but I think that the applicant will have a better shot with that land on the west by making it cleaner. So, with that being said, we're going to move on to case REZ 25-000011.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, for the record, Michael Graves, Planning and Development Services. This is REZ 25-000011. Kevin Fisher is once again requesting a zoning map amendment, this time from commercial retail, residential 2, and plan unit development to commercial general, C3, on a 2.01 acre property, total of property located at 138 to 142 State Road 207 in East Palatka, to allow the development of a used car sale facility. Surrounding zonings include a planned unit development and the residential 2 zoning district. The subject site has a future land use designation of commercial, and the parcel has approximately 505 feet of access from State Road 207. According to the National Wetlands Inventory and the FEMA flood zone layer of the GIS reference map, the lands do not appear to contain wetlands and is located in FEMA Flood Zone X, not a special flood hazard area. Should the applicant's request be approved, the applicant will then be subject to review by Development Review Committee before obtaining any permits for development of this property compatible with the C3 zoning district. Alternatively, he would be able to combine all the properties as the applicant has expressed a desire to do, and or resell them in part or whole. Regardless, any development will require DRC review by the property owner prior to future development. Here you can see the aerial. Again, the same issue from before about the service. It is that northernmost property there with the 2 directly below it and the 1 to the east.
The one to the rear, to the east, you said?
Yes, sir.
Is it 2 parcels to the east?
Just the first one to the east.
Just
And
the
So
the
first
it's
one.
these 4 right here, this
Yep.
one, that one, that one, and that one.
But they're not contiguous.
No, they're all contiguous.
They are contiguous,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. The north one, the 2
It's
below
this,
it, and
yeah.
This one,
Correct.
that one, that one, and
That one, okay. The signs got a little moved around out there.
I like
My
it better when they
apologies, ma'am.
highlighted them.
I do too.
Here you can see it a bit
Yeah, it's
more.
clear.
It's the area that's the commercial future land use there in the corner. Here you can see the zoning, which definitely highlights it. You can see the PUD to the north, the C2 to the southwest, and the residential 2 immediately to the east. Staff recommends approval of the request to amend the zoning map from commercial retail, residential 2, and planned unit development to commercial general. Staff finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the adopted comprehensive plan and meets the locational requirements of the commercial 3 zoning district provided in the land development code and comprehensive plan. Are there any questions?
And the C3 zoning was because car sales couldn't occur in a C2? Was that the rationale?
Correct.
Yeah, I think this is a no-brainer.
But this is the one that has part of the PUD, existing PUD in it?
Correct. That's the one to the north. As you also have seen in our staff report, we cannot confirm if the PUD actually extended to that property or not, or if it was an issue with recording. We believe it to be part of the PUD, however, we cannot guarantee that.
Is the remainder of the PUD under his ownership?
The remainder of the PUD is under separate ownership.
Really trying to get rid of that PUD.
Yeah,
We all are.
yeah. When was the PUD established, do we know?
1983, if I remember correctly. It should be in your packet.
Okay.
The original development agreement is at the end.
Okay.
Michael, can you pull up Google Maps and give us a current aerial of that area?
I would be happy to, Commissioner.
While Mr. Graves is doing that, the ordinance for that PUD was adopted in 1997, the most recent version of it anyhow. And within the exhibit defining the legal description and the conceptual plan, it appears that that piece is not included, which is why we cannot definitively say whether it is or is not part of the PUD.
So it could be a mapping,
Could
just
be
a mapping error.
Yep.
And those are separate parcels.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Back up.
Sorry, not used to a trackpad.
Let's see.
And then Michael, I don't want to speak on behalf of Mr. Sheffield, but I think he wanted Google Maps for a
sorry.
more
This will
recent.
work. Michael, that'll work. That's fine.
Yeah, that's the GIS.
My apologies, sir. I figured you might want to see the parcel.
Yeah,
lines.
so that works for
Yeah,
me.
with the parcel overlay, that's good.
So the True Trust plant ownership is not Mr. Fisher, correct?
Correct. The entirety of the PUD, aside from that one lot that is in this application, is still the True Trust plant. We don't know about this one lot. It does not appear to have originally been part of True Trust, and it seems to have been just a error on recording's part.
Is there any code cases active at the trust plant now?
Not to my knowledge.
I couldn't speak to that, unfortunately. We'd have to check with code enforcement.
So when I did my site survey this morning, obviously the trust plant went away several years ago, and it looks like it's a auto repair for FedEx. No, that's to the south. Yeah. So I looked at the PUD that was accompanying our agenda package, and I looked at all the approved uses for that site, and I couldn't marry up the approved uses to what I saw on that site. And I know it's separate, but it's something to consider. So you don't know if there's any active code cases on that or not?
Not to my knowledge, no, sir.
Okay.
As
All right.
as far as I could tell, there hasn't been any approved development on the True Trust plant to begin with. It could be that they aren't properly using it. At that point, it becomes a issue of waiting for somebody to report them to code enforcement, as staff are not allowed to.
And out 207, we've got several that are non-conforming uses. I think we've seen them before. Okay. So basically, on the property that they're asking to rezone, we're only looking at one building.
Currently, yes, there is only one building for the time being. They would have the right to, of course, expand in the future if they desired.
Okay. All right.
So within the PUD, it does reference several subdivisions, the Lahardis subdivision, and some other general descriptions here. Is there a way we can see the old plat?
There you are. If you'll turn your attention to the map, you can see Lee Hardy's, which is the same subdivision I was mentioning. Oops, sorry, let me.
Yep.
Other way. I was mentioning before with the previous case about how 207 essentially carved straight through a portion of Lee Hardy's.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, can you highlight the parcel in question so that we can see what the legal description summary is, please?
Working on it.
He's working with GIS. Give him all the.
It's a trackpad. It's weird. It's inverted controls. I don't get it. Are you wanting the True Trust plant or just the applicant's properties?
The applicant's northernmost piece.
Yes, that'd be,
Mm-hmm.
so it's lot 7, 8, 9, and 10. I don't have my glasses.
Plus 11.
7,
Plus
8, 9,
11.
10, and 11.
Mm-hmm.
Except
Well,
for the portion that was removed for
so-
207.
If you go to Exhibit A, the Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, Track 2, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Those are blocks in Block B.
Yeah, that's where I was, so this is Block A. Okay, that's, yeah.
There we are. You can see the blocks now.
So we're in Block,
When it works, it's wonderful.
I'm thinking out loud, so I'll turn my mic off.
We do that.
Corner of Lot 7 of Block B.
There's a call in the last two sentences of Track 3 that does address westerly to the southwest corner of Lot 12 of Block A, which would be just north of that parcel. And then thence the northerly 300 feet more or less to the point of beginning. So that gives us our frontage. But yeah, we're missing lots 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of Block A.
I think regardless of whether it's in the PUD or not, it doesn't matter. With the rezoning, we recalibrate what the use is,
Right, the
right?
PUD goes
Correct.
away.
Well,
Regardless of whether the PUD active or not.
Correct.
right, but if we were changing the use of the PUD, that could affect the entirety of the PUD, so.
The PUD is expired to my knowledge, which means they would have to establish a new PUD before they could do any development anyway. We couldn't say that rezoning a portion of it would grant them C3 rights to the whole thing.
As long as it's expired, I'm good.
Yeah, it's expired.
Yep, if it's expired, it's hands off. We can certainly, it needs to be rezoned in order to do anything on it if the PUD is expired.
Yeah, but didn't it take a commercial zoning, didn't the PUD move it into a commercial zoning?
PUD's a zoning district all its own.
So here you can see the future land use, where it is future land use commercial. You can see as I try to zoom out here and fail horribly, that the entire area is the commercial future land use, as this will catch up. Meanwhile, the zoning is, when this loads, PUD for the True Trust plant, while the properties that we're looking at have a piece of PUD, some C2 and the R2. To the north, you've got the more C2, C4, and C1 to the south, before you hit the East Palatka proper, I like to call it.
Now, is he going to combine those into one single parcel?
That appears to be the applicant's goal at this time.
Okay.
The easternmost property is essentially acting as the buffer between the commercial and residential due to its heavily wooded nature, with the middle property working as expanded area for car sales, and the northern property for potentially future development.
Okay.
Michael, quick question, and I apologize if you've already mentioned this. When we have an expired PUD, does the zoning default back to what it was pre-PUD?
It can, if a clause was baked into the PUD to do that. Most PUDs do not include such a clause, however, as most PUDs aren't designed to fail, so to speak. So developers never really think to include a reversion clause.
So in this situation, with that PUD being expired, what would that current zoning be?
If it wasn't zoned for PUD, it would probably be some form of commercial, would be my speculation, though I can only speculate. There's no guarantee. When this was done, if memory serves right, looking at the original ordinance for it, it was agriculture in the past, which is what a lot of the surrounding zoning still is. But agriculture is, of course, not compatible with the commercial future land use or the urban future land use. It is considered a holding zone, and we would try to establish a more useful, I hate to say, zoning for the area.
Something more compatible with the infrastructure that's in place.
Correct.
How did you determine that PUD was expired?
The fact that the True Trust plant is shut down and the PUD is for the True Trust plant, and most other developments would not be permissible. If the development is non-existing for a certain amount of time, I forget off the top of my head, please forgive me. A certain amount of time of no use after completion. I forget the amount of time off the top of my head. PUDs are something I'm only starting to really get into. After a certain amount of time, the PUD would expire naturally.
But so in their existing PUD, there's a list of things that meet it doesn't have to be a trust plant, it's a trust plant, but these are all the uses that are allowed. And so, let's take number 4, for example, heavy machinery and equipment sales and service, or hardware, there's number 7, hardware storage and outside storage. Like any of those uses would have inevitably perpetuated that PUD, correct? Even if they're not producing trusses there, as long as they're doing one of those uses or something that's consistent with what they're doing there.
As long as they are in continuous use with their development agreement, and they are, of course, legally using the property, then yes.
As long as they're legally what?
Utilizing the property.
Property?
There have been no attempts to further develop or get any redevelopment of this property since the plant was shuttered. any structures that have been around that long, we don't have any build permits for repairs or replacements. So if they are doing anything like that, staff has no idea if they are or not, frankly.
Right. Well, I playing devil's advocate again, I don't, from an owner's standpoint, I don't see how, if I own a piece of property and I meet the minimum requirement of something that's going on, and one of these line items there, even if I'm just storing a piece of equipment and that's consistent with what was outlined in the PUD, whether or not I'm making trusses there, I would be upset as an owner if you guys were to expire a PUD based on, without having the opportunity for them to say, look, here's what I've been doing, it's consistent with the PUD, you know what I mean? So before we make decisions based on the PUD's expired.
I do believe we might be getting a bit off topic here,
Right.
as only a single lot, which is may or may not even be part of the original PUD.
I'll be honest with you, I'm way off topic.
Fair enough.
This is straight curiosity for me.
Fair
How do
enough.
y'all come up with some of these things? Like, I would have voted to approve this thing 10 minutes ago. Like,
For sure.
You were ready.
Ultimately, that is something that would have to be discussed with the applicant at the time of future development.
Right.
If they ever come in for figuring out what they want to do with the property in the future, they would come to us for a pre-application meeting. We would walk them forward with whatever the best process would be, whether that be a rezone, a new PUD, or even just straight development review committee.
right.
It's a complicated matter that would work best in essentially working with the applicant as opposed to just speculating about their property without them even being here.
But if I were to go over and purchase that property this week and then start building trusses there, and then somebody showed up and said, hey, this PUD expired, like, how do you defend that position?
Considering the state of the building, I would imagine you'd probably want to bring that up to modern
Well,
regulation.
that's neither here nor there, but you understand where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying, but considering the state of everything, you would probably want to go through development review at some point, at which point we would set you up for that pre-application meeting, and we would make sure that it either is or isn't expired at that point. We would review all the documents as opposed to just the few that I gathered for the purpose of this rezone, and then at that point we would walk you forward with the desired path to get you to that result.
I think it would be advisable to speak strongly with the applicant and seriously advise them to be present at the BOCC meeting, because these kind of questions are going to come up there also, or they may come up there, and they might not be as generous as we are.
Fair enough.
So I think the applicant needs to be present. I don't have hesitation about our moving forward with a recommendation with them not here, but I think for the final process, they need to be there to respond to questions.
Well, again, I don't think whether or not it's part of the PUD really has any bearing on what our decision is here, because of, we're in effect resetting the use of the property. I do understand that if that had an effect on the adjacent property that's not under this owner's control, then that certainly needs to be considered. But from just evaluating what they got going on here, that it doesn't matter. That the PUD, whether that piece is in or out, doesn't seem to affect it for what we're doing here. So,
And I like the way they propose using that middle piece of land as a buffer. And that's a wise decision, or a wise recommendation they were given. So, all right, any other questions or comments or concerns? I don't think we had a public hearing portion of this meeting. Is there anyone present who would like to speak either for or against this particular application? See, you want to come up? Come on. Just give us your name and address and we'll go ahead.
Again, Margaret Arango, 2015, St. John's Avenue. So I drove past this the other day. There's already cars for sale on that lot. It used to be a detail place, but there are already cars sitting there. They say for sale. And then I'm just curious, I looked it up on Zillow, and it went for, they wanted 4.4 million a couple months ago. Now they're down to 3 million. So I believe it's already a car dealership. So I'm just saying.
You drive down Highway 17, you'll see several cars parked here and there with for sale signs on them, I know. But yeah, sometimes that happens.
we get a lot of cases where people get in trouble and then they try to remedy their problem, and
Mm-hmm.
That's
Get it
probably-
rezoned.
That could
Exactly
very
what-
well be what's going on.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened this
There's
time. Code enforcement case was called on him for the illegal sale of cars, and he's trying to remedy that with the rezone.
Okay,
There you go.
Well, at least
There
he
you go.
tried. All righty, thank you.
okay.
You too.
And so the rezoning goes through, it alleviates any fine with noncompliance.
Correct. It would remove the code case because now he's in compliance.
Okay.
We're not used to members of the public speaking to us and not being mad at us already, so we appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
So, Madam Chair, you made a comment about the middle lot being a buffer.
They're going to use that as a buffer between the commercial area and the residential area behind it.
The highlighted one, the residential
Right.
2 one, if they were not to combine that, they would of course have a 10 to 15 foot buffer on that side, setback on that side, and then they would still need to have their buffer as well. But if they just leave that vegetation and combine it in, that natural vegetation there is going to be a very significant amount of buffer on that side, blocking any encroachment into the residential use you see on the screen.
Nice.
Okay. Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
All right, I'll get it. I move that we recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners to rezone REZ 25000011 as it is consistent with goals, objectives, and policies of the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan.
I have a proper motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Maluta, second.
Second.
I think the general beat you to it there, Stanley. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? Okay. I will ask Zach and Michael, do we have any old business that needs to come before the board?
No, ma'am.
Do we have any new business?
Yes, ma'am.
I figured that.
So I know that this board was eagerly awaiting an opportunity to have a joint workshop with our Board of County Commissioners to discuss recreational vehicles. Since the inception of that conversation and now, staff has been made aware of Senate Bill 180, which was passed with this last legislative session. It's effective July 1, 2025, and it actually is retroactive for 2 years. No municipality can establish any land use regulation that is more intense than the existing legislation within 3 years of a declaration of natural disaster or declaration of emergency for a natural disaster. So it was a law that was sponsored in attempts to make redevelopment of residences and business owners easier. There was some unforeseen oversight with that legislation, and now if the county attempted to adopt any sort of legislation, like restricting RV use in any way, shape, or form, anybody could challenge it inside, outside the county, doesn't matter if you live here or not, and potentially win that type of an appeal.
Even though we did not have such a natural disaster in Putnam County.
Yeah, if your county was named in the declaration of emergency, which Putnam County has been in the
Yeah.
past 3 years, I believe, then you can't do any legislative changes until it sunsets October of 2027, but that is, of course, if we don't get another declaration of emergency by then. So,
There was one, and I cannot remember what it was, but there was one other situation that the chairman of the county commission had mentioned to me that we would work on together, and I'm sorry, I can't remember what it was.
I think it was that language about DRC review
Yes.
with the PUD.
Yes.
I think it's more or less the direction, definitely the direction of staff. We don't want to mess with anything. We've got a pretty good set of LDRs in place, so we don't want to open up any can of worms. I for sure do not want to bring back any staff-initiated text amendments. But yeah, I don't know that we're going to look at changing our LDRs, comp plan or code anytime in the near future. Now, it is worth stating, a citizen can initiate a more intense regulation, but we typically don't see that, as Mr. Morris is familiar.
Okay. Why-
Can I ask a question about the previous, the RV thing?
Mhm.
What, and I'm trying to wade through what you were saying there. You're saying we can't enact any new, so that the stuff that's existing on the books is the rule of law for here, or, there's a state standard for, say, RV occupation or use?
So what we have in place currently is we can impose that regulation. There really isn't any state standards on RV occupation. It's a local matter. The state lets the counties and municipalities decide. So there's really nothing for us to kind of fall back on or lean to on the state legislation. So we more or less just have to keep what we have, enforce what we have. If somebody brings us an application to make it more restrictive or less restrictive, we would run that, but staff would not initiate a more restrictive language.
So in the language you're talking about, it's a more restrictive case, meaning if we were to meet with the county commissioners and have a relaxing of issues, then that's still a viable path, correct? Or not?
Yes, sir. And so for what it's worth too, we could still have the conversation. We could queue up the language and do whatever we wanted to in terms of having the discussion. It's just if you pass the ordinance, that's where you subject yourself to litigation. Yes, we could.
Only if it's more restrictive, correct?
Correct. We could reduce the restrictions of that language, but then you deal with, the law of subjectivity, and what may be more restrictive to you is less restrictive to me. So, especially when you're dealing with property rights.
Yeah.
That's what we got attorneys for.
That's true.
There's also the issue that anything you add would never be able to really be come away. So if you make a decision that sounds great on paper, but then it turns out to cause some unforeseen problem, you can't take it back at that point.
So I just wonder if this was intended initially to address FEMA housing that was brought in as RVs, and counties and municipalities could not impinge upon that.
Well, the Senate Bill 180 has nothing to do with RVs. It is any and all land development regulations.
Oh,
So, right, we couldn't even say, all right, all fences have to be 4-foot privacy, wood construction. We couldn't even do that. That would in essence be more restrictive than what we currently have.
was Senate Bill 180?
Yes, ma'am.
So following that line of reason, we can't change anything.
Right.
I mean, it's a slippery slope for sure. Now, again, we can, if we get a citizen-initiated application, yes, we can work that and run that. That would not be subject to this legislation. But if the county initiates it, then we could be.
Gotcha. I was a citizen once.
I'm writing a note, so just give me a minute. Okay. We have the minutes before us from the August 13th meeting. Are there any changes, corrections, or omissions? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion to approve the minutes.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. Do I have a second?
I can second that.
You'll second that? You're good at seconding
Happy to,
today, General. Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. Are there any questions? Call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All righty. You've given me permission to sign them. Get my blue pen out. All right. You want to give us a preview for next month?
Make a motion to leave.
I don't really know. Rezone PUD. And one other case that we're not sure if they've met their application deadline or not.
Okay. All righty, so, but we will meet in October,
Yes, ma'am.
October 8th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so hold that date and be here. Appreciate it.
Just out of curiosity, though, the fact that last meeting, we had a ton of people, and it seemed like each case had somebody speaking. Is it routine for the applicant to not show up? And when they file an application, do you let them know that it's not in their best interest, but it's useful if they happen to be here, whether they speak or not?
So yes, sir, as part of our pre-application meeting with them, we tell them what their dates would be. And we advise that their attendance is, vital but not required. I would say probably 80 to 90% of the time, the applicant will be here.
Yeah. And sometimes there won't be anyone in the audience for public comment, but
Yeah, I don't mind the audience, that's not the issue, but it just seems that both
Applicant.
cases, nobody was here, and there were questions that the council had that I think might have been answered.
It was the same guy for both
it was the
cases.
same person.
Well, it doesn't matter, I mean, he's
Yeah.
double wrong. in
Yeah.
my opinion, but-
Only got 1-3.
Madam Chair, can
Okay.
I ask one thing of staff? Actually,
Absolutely.
two things. One's informational. There's a good article on the front page of today's paper.
Yes, it was.
Regarding growth in Putnam
Yes,
County.
it was a very good article.
Secondly, which kind of is from this, is there a scenario where a medium to large-scale subdivision could be approved without coming to the boards? That staff has the ability to approve it without it coming to this board or the BOCC?
Yes, sir. Senate Bill 784 was also passed with the last legislative session, and it requires all plat and replat applications to be administratively approved. So they are no longer, I would say they're prohibited by statute from going to a governing body. Our county council has stated that there are still pathways in which the county would have a say on the plat. His impression is like whenever it comes to right-of-way or other infrastructure, if that's to be dedicated to the county, then it could come to the board, but they should only be determining whether or not to accept the infrastructure, not whether or not they agree with the plat. It's also retroactive legislation. So many of us expected the D.R. Horton subdivision, that's kind of the big elephant, to come back in front of public hearings. That subdivision, if the infrastructure and the roads are to remain under their control and maintenance, then it will not come back to a public hearing.
And that's a PUD.
That's correct. And that's, you bring up a good point. So PUDs, of course, is a zoning map amendment. So the PUD will still come in and you would still see a conceptual plan. You would still understand what their lot sizes are going to be and the density is going to be for that subdivision or development. But if the PUD is approved, any platting that happens afterwards that does not involve dedicated infrastructure is administratively approved.
So that streamlines some things.
That was the intent.
Yes, but you can, so the code can be rewritten and also include, land development code could also include that even if they are private streets, they have to be built to public standards. So although it sounds like a lot of changes were made, actually it tightened some things up and it gave you way to sunset old plats and it put requirements on the surveyors and the platting. But then if you had the land development code in other places to back it up, it does streamline it, but if your land development code is strong enough, it almost fixes itself.
Yep.
So there might be some gaps that maybe
Commissioner
you could
Williams,
suggest or
uh,
look at?
you mentioned editing the land development code to have private roads built to public standard.
It's
We
already
cannot
there.
do that because of the other Senate bill. We cannot,
That's-
Oh.
that is an intensification.
But don't we already have,
We do.
Yes, we do. They-
yeah,
Our code already says public or private right-of-ways built to county standards, paved, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so.
We're fortunate in
and
that
that's
regard.
enforceable? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I was just,
You have
we're-
another question, Justin, or Jason?
That was kind of it. So if I heard you correctly, the plating will not go to this board. It can be administratively processed. But if there is a rezone, or if you're talking about, for example, a 50-acre site and it has multiple zonings, that would come to us before, for the rezone and so forth. That would be later tied to a potential plat.
That's correct. So you'll still get the opportunity to hear the zoning decisions or future land use decisions, but you would no longer get, more than likely, you would no longer get a plat unless they're proposing to build the infrastructure and dedicate it to the county. And at that point, again, I believe that you would be making a recommendation for the commission to accept the infrastructure or not. It wouldn't be anything related to the lots or the lot size.
but the plat would still be reviewed.
I mean, you'd have, yeah, you'd
I mean, you're still gonna have staff reviewing the plat for compliance with the land development code. It's just gonna kinda,
It would still go through Development Review Committee
Right.
and with the Putnam County Surveyor before approval. It's just, it would not be seen by the Planning Commission or the Board of County Commissioners.
And
Yeah.
so we have, when we receive the application, we have 7 days to provide a sufficiency determination. And within that sufficiency, we have to tell them how long it will take before the plat will be approved. So, which is tricky because when Wes is reading those plats, if the legal description's wrong or something like that, well, they gotta go back and resubmit and so on and so forth. So we haven't had to deal with it yet, but more than likely it's gonna be, okay, the DRC is gonna look at it for right-of-way width and drainage measures and lot size and density and so on and so forth. And then from there, the county surveyor and a couple other entities will review the plat and the language to make sure it's all aligns with Chapter 177 Florida statutes. And then if there's no reason to deny or approve with conditions, then we passed a resolution designating the county administrator as the land development administrator or the land plat administrator. It's whatever the Senate bill requires that title to be. So no longer will we have Planning Commission Chair and Board of County Commissioner
Sign
Chair
it.
signing the plat. It would just be currently Mr. Suggs or his or her, his designee. The resolution was written his or her, right? We
Yeah.
want to be future-proof.
Right.
Don't want to do it again.
And just a curious question. I take it that there was no appropriation with all of these changes to help staff manage this more efficiently and timely?
No, and that's actually one of the concerns. Well, for rural communities, we don't get the public input. We don't get, the dollars to hire another employee to review it. We could potentially put a strain on our already strained infrastructure, water and sewer. And it removes, it attempts to dissolve any sort of, intergovernmental coordination. But fortunately, we can still have the DRC review it. And, you get Public Works and Utility Division and Road Division, so they'll still be able to see it and weigh in on the plat.
in my opinion, where it makes the biggest change is as soon as you get that plat, you can put the building permits on a rocket docket and you get 50 or 75% of you can submit basically a master and say, I want 75%, and they're issued right then.
Yeah.
So this was all a lot, it basically, the big change is when it comes to the building department. And that's where the big strain is on staff right now that we're seeing in other places, so.
Yeah, and to speak to that point, fortunately for Putnam County, in order for them to be eligible for that massive amount of permit issuance at the same time, the utilities have to be in place, and we are limited in capacity in wastewater, so that's kind of a blessing in disguise, really. But yeah, I mean, that is another valid point. And I know it was 50% a couple years ago, but it wouldn't surprise me if, some of the lobbyists
Yeah,
got it up to
I can't remember,
75.
there's one that's 50% and one, it's either one or the other, but it's a majority, they just say, here's what I'm gonna build, I want this many, so,
Without the plat being recorded.
right.
Lovely. Do we see this being changed in the future? And
We foresee Senate Bill 180 getting some revisions to kind of make it less widespread, but 784 is probably here to stay.
Okay. Any other questions? These conversations are very, very helpful. Mr. Hafner, you've been very quiet today. Yeah. Okay. Well, hearing nothing else to come before the board, it is 5:21. This meeting is adjourned.